I'm Lauren Greci, and you are listening to the Lifestyle with Lauren podcast, the show where we chat all the things: life, motherhood, Jesus, food, beauty, and wellness, and so much more. So grab a hot cup of coffee, kick back, and relax with us. I hope that you find joy, laughter, and encouragement today and every day. Thanks for being here. Hey everyone, I am so excited that you're here with us tonight. I am chatting with Miss Sarah from Mom with a Map. She is a mom that sold their stuff basically and bought a boat and are what you call a looper. So Sarah, could you introduce yourself for those that are viewing and listening?
Hey, so I am Sarah Bowlin. I online really more go by Mom with a Map. And that is just all about travel and inspiring other families to travel. I have two kids, a daughter that's 13 and a son, Miller, who is 9. And I am on a boat full time, like Lauren said, with my husband, the 2 kids, and we just got a brand new puppy. So it is a full house, and we are just really kind of living our dream right now.
That is so awesome. So, okay, tell me about this puppy. Where did you find this puppy? While you were on the Great Loop?
Oh, man. So we traveled up the East Coast with a lot of other boats, and most of them had dogs. And my kids just loved walking all the other dogs, and all the other boats were just so willing to share. And we got up to the Great Lakes, and we were a little bit late in the season due to the Erie Canal opening late, all the things having to do with COVID. And we kind of suddenly found ourselves a lot of times not with a lot of other boaters around. It was, kids had gone back to school, and suddenly my kids had lost their best playmates, all the dogs that had been around us. And so the pressure was turned on thick, and my husband said yes. And so that really put me in a position of being the one to either say yes or no, which I hate that job. But I said yes, and we got a puppy, and it's been absolute chaos, but also probably one of the best things we've ever done. And I hope that nobody hears me say that on this boat, because I gripe about it all the time as I'm picking up dog toys and feeding the dog and all the things that I said I wasn't going to do. But it's been great.
Okay, so the logistics of having a dog on a boat, because, with our dog, we just open the back door and she goes outside to go potty. So what do you do when you're on a boat?
So honestly, we kind of do the same thing. We have an outside portion of our boat that I call my screened-in porch, but really I guess it is kind of a screened-in porch. Nobody else on a boat calls it that, but that's my name for it. And I don't really know the technical name for it, so that's what it's called. But we have a piece of AstroTurf that's in a tray. And so our dog goes out there and goes to the bathroom, and it works really well. It's ideal, when you're on anchor, but because we trained our puppy on this boat, he doesn't really know anything else. So we do take the dog for walks, but I don't think that he understands that that's where he's really supposed to go to the bathroom. So if we ever transition back into a house, it could be a really interesting situation.
Right. So you're like, hold on, where is my turf square? I need that. So did you find him when you were at one of the ports, one of the stops on the loop, and you just did you already have in mind where to go, to a shelter, or how did that all work?
Well, I wish that we could say it's a shelter dog, because prior to this one, we did have a shelter dog, but we have found out that my husband and my son are highly, highly allergic to dogs. And so we needed to go with a breed that didn't shed and was no allergies and all the things. So we started looking at what mixes well with a poodle and what will live on a boat and kind of adapt to our lifestyle. And we ended up with a mix of a poodle and a Newfoundland. So Newfoundlands are known for being Coast Guard dogs. They're known for being just really good swimmers, lifeguards. We still haven't figured out if ours likes to swim yet. We haven't been overly impressed. He knows how, but he just doesn't seem to love it like we thought he would. So TBD on that. But that's kind of how we ended up with, and I'm embarrassed every time I say this because I am not a prissy girl, but it's called a Newfie Poo. So, but it is.
That's a good one. I like that. I will have to look up this dog, and we will have to share a picture on social media so everyone can see what
For
we're talking
sure.
about.
Yeah.
Well, so much fun. Okay, so let's talk about your kids then for a minute. So you said you have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. So what is life like on the boat with two kids then?
Uh, it's a little chaotic. Probably the biggest challenge for us is that my husband did not work from home prior to us moving onto a boat. So we were used to saying goodbye to him in the morning and seeing him usually for dinner, hopefully for dinner, or meeting him at a field for a sports practice or something like that. We were not used to living as a family of four, 3 meals a day in any space. I mean, not to mention a boat. So it's a little chaotic with the kids coming and going and their schedules. And I think for me, it's just kind of a normal situation. We did start homeschooling before we moved on to the boat. So I had a little heads up what it would take to be around my kids all the time. But it's just been a wild card having the extra person who's there all the time and just having to keep them quiet at times if he's on phone calls. But we try to just kind of get out and do things. We try to get out of this space, try not to be on top of each other all the time, just kind of spreading out, and everything really helps. But overall, I mean, they love boating. They love being on the boat, and they really are doing well with homeschool concept and like really enjoy kind of the self-study, self-motivated approach to it.
Are you using a specific curriculum? Because we're homeschooling this year and we tried a curriculum. It was a Christian-based curriculum, which I really enjoyed and liked, but I think we're going to switch this next school year. And I'm kind of excited for something different. But what are you using?
So we have we lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. That was where we sold what in the boating community everybody calls your dirt house. We sold our dirt house in Charlotte. And prior to us being on this boating adventure, our kids went to a hybrid school. So they were partially homeschooled and partially they were at this school. And so we kind of stuck with the curriculum that had been set because it was working really well for my kids. So it's actually just a variety of different curriculums that I think most people are familiar with. But the school itself had kind of pulled out. They liked the math for this curriculum and they liked the spelling for this curriculum. So we don't have one set thing that we do. But overall, again, it's whatever is working, I think is what you got to go with. And if it's not working, you just have to kind of change it up because so many homeschoolers, get really into like, this is the best one or this is the best one. And we found that it's okay to not have something work for your family and to try something else.
Yeah, absolutely. So then, okay, so my husband and I were chatting about this of, thinking of our two extremely rambunctious boys. Granted, we have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old, so just a little bit behind you. But does it ever just feel so tight? Like everyone is just right there. They get loud, they get noisy. What do you do in those moments when it's just so much and so overwhelming? You're just like, all right, everyone out, let's go.
Yeah. So I think that's a little bit like what I was talking about, that I had like a little bit of a training session before we moved on here. I am really good at just tuning it out. Like I cannot even realize that my kids are being loud. I just kind of get in a zone and it's okay. I can do dishes. I can do something else. And I tune it out. My husband is struggling with that. Yeah. And I think partially that's because he's on work calls. He's, it's very distracting for him, but we do. I mean, we send the kids out often. We try to, just get out, whether we're doing homeschool on a picnic table at a marina or out playing or, I guess Starbucks hasn't been as much of an option with COVID, but we've gone to some like local coffee shops. I mean, just whatever we can do to kind of get a little extra space. It does help.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I know. I mean, and that's, I think our biggest struggle is like, we're already in a relatively good sized house and it's like, they're always right there. It doesn't matter how big your house or how little your house is. Your kids are always right on your heels, it seems. So it doesn't matter, it seems.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's kind of go back. So when did y'all decide that you wanted to do this adventure? Said you were living in, you said Charlotte?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so then how did you transition from that? And what was the whole transitioning process like?
So it's really a crazy story. And sometimes when I tell people the details, like I can't even put into words exactly how it happens, but we began praying about full-time travel. Like a year of full-time travel was really like our goal. It was just something that was on our hearts. We realized our kids were growing up really fast, and just to be able to spend that quality time with them. But we had no idea how to make it work. I mean, like I said, we had a house, we had jobs that tied us to very much to offices. We had, a life in a community that we just didn't really see how we were going to get away from. And we just started praying about it. And God put May 2020 on our heart. And I mean, it just was clear day, May 2020. And at the time, it was 5 years prior to that. So in 2015. And I thought, no, that's too far away. Like, I really want it to be sooner. But May 2020 just like stuck with us. And we kept praying about it. And honestly, other than praying about it and just trusting that it was somehow going to work out, there really wasn't a lot for us to do other than to just keep that date in mind. And we started taking little steps to be ready if somehow it worked out for us to do it. And just as it got closer, even I remember in the fall of 19, I thought, everything is so perfect. Like right now, we love our neighbors. We love our the sports teams my kids are involved in. And I was like, maybe we should wait another year. Like maybe, 2021 would be our year. And for whatever reason, I mean, May 2020 just kept on. And so we went ahead, we put our house on the market. And again, my husband had a job that was very much in office, and we weren't sure how it was all going to work, but we just trusted. And then COVID hit, and my husband was told that he had to go remote. He was not allowed to come into his office anymore. And here we had just bought this boat. And so we started around the loop. And initially, we thought we might have to come back to Charlotte in July. And then we thought we might have to come back in November. And here we are about to finish the loop. And he's been able to be remote this whole time. He's been employed by his, the job that he loved before we started on the loop. So it's really crazy. And just, I love sharing how I can't explain it, but God just gave us that, and we ran with it.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. Don't you love it when God just implants that in your heart and then he just makes it happen?
It's amazing. So yeah.
He definitely has a plan, doesn't he? So how did you buy the boat? Did you already, because you lived close to the ocean, so you were able to kind of go and see different boats, or how did that whole process work, and as far as picking the right one for your family?
So Charlotte is probably 3 good hours from the closest coast, but my husband, I joke with him all the time. I mean, he looks at boats, or he looked, and he still looks at boats all the time at night. Like that is kind of his, if I'm scrolling through Facebook or Instagram, he's looking at boats, and that's his thing. And so he had really narrowed down like exactly what would work for our family, with kids and everything. There was a real short list of things that were both in our price range and doable for this many people. And so he had really narrowed it down. We took a couple weekends last winter. He looked at boats by himself one weekend. He took the kids one weekend when I had a girls thing planned. And then the boat that we bought was the first boat that I saw. And so he likes to joke about that, but it just was the right one. And so this is the one we got. But that's how kind of we looked. Again, he did so much of the homework ahead of time that we knew pretty close to what we were getting before we bought it.
Nice. And now I know you shared it because I already read it on your blog. Again, your blog is momwithamap.com, correct?
Yeah.
And you shared like a little photo tour and kind of how the boat is laid out and everything. And so both of your kids have their own rooms too, which is remarkable when you think of a boat to have that much space.
Yes. They're small rooms. I don't want to like paint anybody a picture that we're living on some mega yacht, but it works for us. Again, everybody has their own space, and that is crucial in our case.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So you sold your house. Did you have any overlay of selling your house and then going onto the boat, or did you buy the boat and then sold your house, or how did that all kind of line up? Were you able to go straight from one to the other?
Yeah. So, this is a detail that really probably is only important for somebody who would be doing something that's similar to what we were doing. But we had received the advice, we had planned that, weren't sure like how timing wise everything needed to work out, but we had gotten the advice that if you wanted to get a loan for a boat, you probably shouldn't make any major life changes, which included selling your house, which sounds kind of counterintuitive that you would, but I guess the fact that you have a mortgage for a house shows some sort of like steady, I don't know, financial, you're capable of making a house payment. So we actually did purchase the boat and then put our house on the market. And thankfully, with the way the market is right now, we were able to sell right away. And that was a big blessing. And there was a little bit of a transition period moving to the boat. I felt like every single weekend we were just hauling more and more stuff down there. And then we would get it to the boat and half of it wouldn't really fit. And so we would take it back and put it in storage. So there was a little bit of back and forth. But for the most part, it was, when I think back on it, it was a very, very short amount of time that we totally upheaved our lives and started something new.
So for a lot of people that would be like the planner and want that like fallback option, some people might think that that's like totally scary, that you've completely sold your house and if the boat doesn't work, like, what do you do? What advice would you have for people who may be feeling that way, if this is something that they want to do too?
Yeah. So I am super type A. I'm a big time planner and I've had to let go of so much of that and just lean into our dreams and really realize that if you want to make something happen in your life, you just have to sometimes like put on your big girl pants and do it. And I don't regret anything that we've done. Like, it's been more amazing than I could possibly have even imagined. And so I just have to continue. Even now there's like, where are we going next? What are we doing next? You know, what do we do when we finish the loop? Do we immediately buy a house? I mean, there's so many questions, but I'm just trusting that, you know, God's going to reveal his plan for our family in the time that he wants to. So, you know, whether we're looking at buying a house later this year or renting for a while, I don't know what it holds, but I just have to kind of lean into the fact that we're making our dreams happen, and it can be a little scary.
Yeah. Well, that is so awesome. I love it. I love every bit of this. So kind of on the same conversation, but a little different. What is one very interesting, bizarre, weird tidbit event, something happened that will always stick in your mind from the loop so far?
Oh man, that is a big question. That's a really big question. So this is one thing actually I haven't written about. So that's a good question to ask. We had this one bizarre week, and it has the loop has been amazing. So when I say, I mean, and I've written about all these really cool things that have happened, but we had this one week last July that was just the weirdest, worst week. And I mean, it was literally like one thing after another. My husband cut his finger open and had to go to the emergency room. And these courtesy cars at marinas, I mean, this thing was like 400,000 miles, no air conditioning. The seat like moved back and forth when you braked and stuff. Like the whole seat moved forward. It was so bizarre, but that was okay. And then the very next day, my kids were in the pool at the marina, and Miller got his entire hand sucked into like the vacuum drain.
Oh no.
And I mean, his whole hand was bruised for like a week.
Oh,
and then my daughter fell through the dock, like a dock piece board broke. It was like one bizarre thing after another. And again, it's not something I share often. And this is the first time I've shared that, but I don't usually share these like really random things that happen to us. We are definitely known for misadventure. But this was kind of like that extra, like, holy cow, what is happening? We got to get out of here kind of week. So that's probably the weirdest. Yeah. The weirdest thing that's happened.
That's when your husband's like, all right, let's pull this anchor and let's go.
Exactly. We're out of here.
Yeah. So do y'all do a lot of anchoring out, or do you go to marinas a lot? What is your preference?
So we love the idea of anchoring. In theory, anchoring is amazing. We had our very, very first night, like we bought the boat. It was in a marina. It was in the same slip. We came and went from this one marina, but like the very first night that we left that particular marina, we anchored, and we were so new and so green to boating. We had not practiced anchoring. We did not think about like what makes a good anchorage. I mean, all the things. We pretty much like nailed it with the absolute worst night of our lives on anchor. And so it kind of scared me. Our boat moved the whole night. We had an anchor alarm set, which basically sounds like this big siren going off. So every time we fell asleep, the anchor alarm would go off. And I'm picturing us like drifting out to sea, like in the middle of the ocean, which wasn't happening. But it was, again, the boat was so new to us and we were just not used to it. But it's taken a lot to get kind of over that. We have since had a lot of great experiences on anchor. But for my husband's job and then like the kids' school schedule, we typically try to stay in a marina Monday through Friday. And then we will travel a lot on the weekends. We're going out and anchoring with some friends this weekend. So it's really, we really enjoy being on anchor. It's just not something that with our lifestyle, we get to do very often.
So where are y'all right now?
We're in Fort Myers, Florida.
Yay. So how long are you going to stay in Florida? And y'all got to basically miss out on the ice off, snow, whatever you want to call it, the big snowstorm and ice storm that swept like the entire United States. I'm in Texas and we got hit massively hard. And it was funny. They would show the map. I think you even made a post about it or something on stories. And you were like, sorry. You were like, we're going to get a cold front too. It'll be like 74.
Yeah, it was ridiculously hot that week. Last week, I guess it was in Florida, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. So I feel really fortunate. I told my husband, Brent, the other day, normally, because again, we're in Charlotte, probably pretty similar to the Texas climate. I mean, you maybe get a couple random cold days. It's not a terrible winter, but I usually, like when I look at the calendar and I see that it's almost the end of February, I'm always like, oh, it's almost the end of February. We're going to have, spring is coming. And this year I'm like, oh, it's already almost the end of February. Like it's just such a different mindset being in South Florida. Cause it's been a really, really nice winter down here.
Oh, I bet. So then for those that aren't familiar with the Great Loop, kind of explain what that is and how do you travel it and when is the best time to travel the different areas?
So the big fancy answer to what the Great Loop is it's a circumnavigation of the eastern portion of the United States. And all that is to say that you basically travel up the East Coast through New York in like the Erie Canal, the canal system there, into the Great Lakes. And then you come down the inland river system into the Gulf of Mexico and then travel back around Florida and you're back where you started. We started from Brunswick, Georgia, which is just north of Jacksonville, Florida. And so we have followed a pretty typical looper schedule. You go counterclockwise. The rule of thumb is you want to be, north of Florida before hurricane season starts. You want to be off the Great Lakes before October 1st. And then, you want to get south as quickly as you can before it starts getting cold. And so that's pretty much the schedule that we've kept. You can start from anywhere. And so just depending on where people buy boats or have boats or live, people start on the Great Lakes, people start in the middle of the river system, but you pretty much need to be on that time schedule because of hurricanes and cold weather.
Right. Now, and I know some of the Great Loop or loopers, I should say, because that's what people that do the Great Loop are called, the loopers. Some people have actually gone off and go to like the Bahamas and different places too. Have y'all done that? Are y'all considering that?
That is a sore subject, Lauren. We had obviously planned. I mean, that was kind of course, we're going to the Bahamas. That's awesome. But we have sort of backed off of that plan for this spring. And the only reason being, we are not personally worried about us traveling, but there are so many rules this year. You have to have a COVID test to go. And then what we found in boating is that the weather windows have to be perfect. So you not only have to have a test that's negative within 48 hours of when you're going, but then you have to have the good weather window to go. And then after that, when you get there, after I think 4 or 5 days, you have to have another test over there. And then to come back, you have to have another negative test. So that's 12 on our boat. That would be 12 tests. And just the odds of maybe something going wrong, somebody, getting a positive. I mean, there's just too many wild cards with all of that we've just decided we were going to actually go back to the Keys instead, which we're excited about. And then hopefully Bahamas maybe next year, if that is in the cards.
Nice. Very cool. So when do y'all get to go wake? What is it called? Wake to wake? Whenever you're crossing your own wake?
Yes. So crossing our wake, we are anticipating probably like April timeframe, maybe late April, early May, because it's Brunswick, Georgia. We don't want to get up there and it still be kind of chilly. We're really enjoying Florida, and so not in any hurry. It's kind of funny because now that we're where we are, everyone's like, "Oh, you're almost done," and we just don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear no, who wants to be done with like the best thing that's ever, in their lives that they've done? So we don't want to be done, really.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, so I have a practical question. I have a very specific diet that I have to follow. So when I think of looping or that being a possibility for our family, either, way down the road, retirement stuff, how do you find fresh fruit and vegetables and let's say any diet specific foods? I have a lot of friends that children have celiac or have food allergies and have to be gluten-free and all this stuff. So is that a possibility when you're at a marina? Because I can imagine that there's probably some grocery stores relatively close to marinas, but then there's probably some places that you do have to travel quite a bit to get somewhere. How has grocery shopping been on the loop?
Yeah, so that was something I really worried about too. And it's great. The one thing that's great about the loop is you're really never far from civilization or grocery stores. I would say maybe we had 3 or 4 days on the inland river system where we really wouldn't have had access to any food. But in boating, we call grocery shopping provisioning, and it's just the fancy way of saying it. And I've kind of like embraced that boating term. So we go provision and stock up. And I am so guilty of over provisioning because I always act like I'm never going to see a grocery store again. Mm-hmm. And then, like the next stop, we have one. But Instacart's been a real godsend this year. That's been such a huge thing. I resisted it for the longest time. And I honestly still get kind of angry. Like, I don't know, when I request potato chips and they're like, "Oh, we got you potatoes instead." Like that drives me bonkers. But for the most part, Instacart's great. And that's when we don't have access to a car. A lot of times either there's a car at the marina that you can borrow, or if you can't walk to a store, people are so nice. I mean, we have encountered so many people that have offered to let us borrow their cars or go grab groceries for us, or there's farmers markets that we can walk to. So it has not been a problem at all.
That's so nice. I never even would consider a farmer's market too. So when you use Instacart, are they delivering it to the marina and then you just pick it up from the marina?
Sometimes they bring it right down to the boat. It's amazing.
Wow.
It's really good. Yeah.
That is so nice. And not that I'm affiliated in any way, but hey, Instacart, if you want to affiliate me, that'd be sweet. No, but I love Instacart. We use it here in our home because it's just so convenient. And I love that you get to see your shopper is shopping items and you can like message them. And half the time, at least the ones here, they'll always ask me like, "Hey, they don't have this. Is it okay if I swap it with this?" And it's like, yes or no. But then even when they get the wrong items or if items are spoiled or bad, Instacart refunds you. Like they're like, "Just keep the item and we'll give you the money back." So that has been a lot of fun. Okay.
I agree.
So practical question too. So who does the driving? Do you drive or does your husband drive?
So I said that I was not interested in the boat driving at all. Like that was my husband's thing, and he genuinely enjoys it. And I have to say, like when we travel, I'm capable of driving a car, but I don't. I mean, he's always our driver. However, we met a couple on the loop last summer that had a medical emergency. And of course, it was the husband and the driver of the boat. And he had to go off in an ambulance, and she was left with the boat and no skills to do anything about it. And so that was really a big wake-up call. After that, I kind of started saying, hey, I want to be able to at least know how to turn on the boat. And then I'd say, well, I want to know how to do this. And it came down to the fact that I kind of enjoyed it. I hate admitting that, but I do enjoy driving the boat. I will certainly not be the one to dock it in a strong wind or anything like that, but I know how to. And I know if there was an emergency, I mean, I might hit a few things, but I could get my boat in safely. And now it's given us an opportunity. There were a couple of times when my husband has needed to take a work call or do something for work that was kind of unexpected. And we can just keep right on going with our plans because I can drive the boat. So
that is awesome.
It worked.
I know. We have a pontoon boat, so obviously a lot smaller, but I was terrified to put that boat on the trailer, and it took me forever. I get so much anxiety, just like I will start sweating. I'm praying out loud. I'm like, Lord, just get me straight on. Don't let me hit the car. Don't let me hit the other boats. And then everyone's watching. Like it's this whole event. So, but yeah. So do you ever get like a little anxious and nervous sometimes? Like if you have to, Okay. Totally. Yeah. And of course, like there's always people watching. I mean, that, like you said, it's always a show. And, and so, yes, I get nervous when my husband's driving and docking the boat. I get nervous when I'm doing it. There's a lot of expensive boats around us, and you just don't want to make a mistake and look kind of dumb doing it. So, right.
Yeah.
But when you do it well, then you're like, yeah, that was me, guys.
I feel pretty cool.
Right. That's right. So then I saw in some of your videos during the locks, can you explain what the locks are like for people who don't know any of the waterway systems, but also you have to hook up to it. So can you kind of explain a little bit of that, and how many locks have y'all gone through?
So I have no idea, maybe 50. There are people on the loop that know every single statistic there is to know. They know how many locks they've gone through. They know how many bridges they've gone under. They know how many gallons of gas they've put or fuel they've put in their boat. They know it all. And I have no idea, but I'm thinking like 50 or so. But I was so scared to do a lock, and I didn't know what it was. And I really should have maybe like watched a video or two of it, because it really is not only not scary, but it's kind of fun. But a lock is a big elevator that either takes your boat up or down based on where the water is dammed off. And so if there's a river or waterway, I guess, that would be, dammed off, that's where then the water level might be different on two places. And your boat has to either go up or down to continue transitioning that water. And so you basically drive in. And my job is usually to be outside and getting a line. And so there's either lines that are hanging down, kind of like Tarzan or rope swing style, and you just grab onto it. And that's what you're then kind of securing your boat to the wall. Or you have a line on your boat that you're putting around like this big cylinder can thing that'll either go up or down with your boat. So either way, the bottom line is you're basically just holding your boat against the wall. There's never been any strong major currents or anything that we've had to really contend with. And it's just kind of an easy little ride up or down.
How long does it take generally to get through a lock? Are they pretty quick, or does it take hours?
Not hours. It depends on how long, like how many boats are coming in with you. We've had a couple locks where we've had upwards of 12 boats in there with us. And so at that point, it's really just a matter of getting all the boats in and secure. You're just kind of waiting on that. All the boats have to come in really slow, because if you come in fast, you wake each other. And so there's you don't want to do that. You don't want to be the boat that does that. So everybody comes in slow and gets their ropes and everything. So I would say 30 minutes or so would be a typical average time that it takes.
Nice. That's not too bad. So
Yeah.
cool. Okay. Do you mind me asking, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but for anyone who is listening and thinks, wow, this seems like a pretty cool thing that, maybe we could do this. We're working from home and we can homeschool our kids, or we already homeschool our kids. So why not? Let's try this. Um, what is the average cost of living for a boat, living on a boat for a year? Do you think it's pretty similar to living in your dirt house versus your boathouse?
Yeah. So I would say that anyone can make it be anything that they really need it to be. For us, we have made it very comparable to what we were paying living in a dirt house. There's things that you don't have to take into consideration, like water and electric. I mean, those things are usually built into your marina fees. If you're looking to save money, I mean, there's loopers that have spent, I think, every night on anchor, and you're obviously that's free. Fuel, our boat can go fast, but the faster we go in our boat, the more fuel we burn. And so that obviously adds cost. There have been times where we've really wanted to go fast, either for safety or comfort or just scheduling. And so those are decisions that we've made. But obviously, then when we're fueling up, we, regret those decisions sometimes. But, going slow obviously is a better fuel efficiency. There's a lot of boaters that live on sailboats. Obviously, those don't take nearly as much fuel as a cruisers like ours. So I would say it's going to be similar. I mean, if you eat out a lot at home, you're probably going to eat out a lot on the loop. If you cook a lot of, your grocery bills are going to be very similar. So I think it's doable with a plan. That would be the best thing I could say.
Yeah. Okay. So then that question I asked you, that what was the most unique, weird thing. So then let's kind of flip that and say, what was the most fun, memorable event that will always be implanted in your brain that you will look back on the Great Loop and be like, that was so cool?
This answer is so like standard. I mean, I think when you talk to any looper, so I really hate to give it, but there's just no way to describe anchoring behind the Statue of Liberty and going to sleep with the entire New York skyline like off your bow and then waking up with the sun rising over that. It was by far the most incredible night that we've spent on the loop. And we just kept pinching ourselves like, this can't be real. This cannot like be something that we're actually doing. And just to even make it a little bit sweeter for us, there's absolutely no way we could have planned this ahead of time, but it happened to be my daughter's 13th birthday. So we were anchored there with two other boats, and we grilled salmon, which was her request, and mashed potatoes, and had a cake and a little birthday party for her, turning 13 with our other little buddy boats. And just that night was just memorable in every way. But, it is something that I think every looper talks about, is just the chance to be right there in front of New York City and New York Harbor.
That's amazing.
It was awesome.
I can only imagine. That would be so cool.
I mean, I have chills just even talking about it. It was just such an amazing night. So yeah, but I will say that was spectacular. But then there's like the little things along the way that you'll always remember too. We had they called it crappie fest, which is some kind of fish that I'm not a really fish person. I'm not a fisher or fish eater, none of that. But they had crappie fest, and they stayed up till midnight one night with like all his little buddies, and all the guys stayed up, and Mary Grace and I made them hot chocolate. And like that night will go down, like, all of our boats, like we talk about it. And then we stumbled on this random like outdoor homemade karaoke thing in Alabama. And like that night there's boaters that we all joke around about that. So as quick as I am to say immediately, like the night in New York Harbor, there have been so many little moments along the way that they're just unforgettable too.
Yeah, that's so fun. Is there one spot in particular, one marina or one location that is your absolute favorite, hands down?
Ugh. That is a tough question. They are all so unique and different. And the things that we've loved about some of them have been more about the people that have been there with us, or the people that we've met while we were there. So that's a hard, I mean, that's like picking a favorite child. I don't think I can do that.
That's good. Okay. I'm curious about your backdrop. So your picture, where was that taken?
This is in, I think, Cayo Costa, which is a state park not far from Fort Myers, kind of off the coast of like Sanibel area, south of Tampa. It's a state park, and we were actually anchored there for New Year's, like 3 or 4 nights for New Year's, which was really cool. There were, as you can see, tons of boats, which kind of added to the experience. Most of them had Christmas lights, and so this is at sunrise, but at night when the light, the sun would go down, all the boats would be lit up. And on New Year's Eve at midnight, everybody was out honking their horns, which my kids thought was the greatest thing ever. So it's really, the picture is cool, but the memory is even better for us.
That's so fun. So did y'all get to shoot off any fireworks or anything from your boat?
We did not.
No?
I did not provision that well. That would have been really cool. I don't think anybody did that. I'm not sure in Florida I don't know what the ruling on that is. I don't know, but nobody did.
Would you do me a favor? Would you subscribe to the show by clicking that subscribe button wherever you're listening? It makes a huge difference for the Lifestyle with Lauren community. I would also love for you to share this show with a friend. I know some of you found this show because a friend recommended it to you. So thank you for listening and being here, subscribing, liking, and sharing, and showing all of your love and support. Thank you. Music was provided for the show by Matt Bowen, and I'm your host, Lauren Greci. Now let's jump back into the conversation. I ask at the very end 3 questions to every guest. What are you loving? What are you reading? And what is making you laugh? So can you answer those for us? What are you loving right now?
Okay. I am loving air fryer bacon. And if you have not tried it, It is life-changing. I mean, like totally life-changing. It's super easy, very little cleanup, but air fryer bacon is awesome.
So you obviously can fit an air fryer then in your boat. Do you have any other, do you have a crock pot or anything too?
So our air fryer is a Instapot. And my husband, okay. I'm going to absolutely say this because I resisted. And I was like, we have a crock pot. We don't need an Instapot. We don't need it. Well, then he found this one that had the air fryer lid. And I was kind of intrigued by the air fryer. And so he kind of got that one past me. So we gave our crock pot to another boater and replaced the spot that was in with this huge Instapot air fryer thing. And it's a little bit ridiculous. We talk about it all the time. We have way too many appliances on our boat, but everyone, the Soda Stream and the Keurig, we all have our things, and the air fryer and the bacon it's worth, it's all of it.
Everybody. Nice. Yeah. Okay. So then a question popped in my head. What is something that you absolutely have to have on your boat? Like if someone took this away from you, you would be devastated. What do you have to have?
My Keurig. Yeah. Yes. The Keurig. Can't live without it. Tried. A lot of boaters are like, I cannot believe you have a Keurig on your boat, because not only do you then have to have the little pods, all the things, I have to have it. It's necessary.
That's so good. I know, I'm a coffee fan too. We use an AeroPress. Have you heard of AeroPresses?
Yeah. Yes. That's
It's, and it's super easy.
You can't live without that.
No, you get used to, you just boil water and pour it in there and then just press it out. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I look forward to, I said this in another podcast too. That is something that I love. I look forward to my coffee at night. I get excited for the next day so I can drink my coffee.
The same. Exactly. Yeah.
Do you also, if you're watching a show and they're drinking coffee, do you all of a sudden really want coffee too?
Crave some? Yes, absolutely.
Yes, every time. I was like, oh, have you tried watching comedians in cars getting coffee? Have you seen that?
No.
Okay. It's with, oh my gosh, it's on Netflix. It's with Jerry Seinfeld. So the comedian,
love him. Yeah.
Yes. And he basically gets these really cool cars and he goes and picks up a comedian, one of his buddies, and they chat in the car. I mean, the episodes are like 20 minutes. And then they go into a coffee shop and they talk more, and then that's it. But it is so funny. It's so light. Like, it's a great thing to watch when you're folding clothes. But every single time they do those slow shots of the coffee and the espresso machine. And oh my gosh, every time I'm just watching, being like, can it be morning? Can it be morning?
Right. That sounds awesome.
Yes, you'll have to watch that. Okay, so what are you reading?
I just finished probably one of the better books I've read in the last couple of years. It's Jessica Simpson's memoir. I think it's called Open Book. Mm-hmm. And I saw so many people talking about it, and I was like, I don't know. Not a huge Jessica Simpson fan then. I don't really know why I would read her memoir now, but I read it, and holy cow. Have you read it yet?
Yes, it is so good.
So good. I had no idea. Like, so good. So yeah. I'm currently like just kind of mourning the fact that book is over, and probably need some recommendations on what next. Cause whenever I finish a really, really good book, I really have trouble like transitioning and just going on to something else. So I'm kind of stuck in that. I don't know what to do now.
Same person. Exactly. I listened to Jessica's book, and what was fun was she read it aloud. So it was the coolest. Yeah, it was the coolest, but she has a very interesting story. And, again, you never know what people are going through, but especially when you think of her and how happy-go-lucky she always seemed on TV, you would never have guessed all the demons she was fighting inside. So yeah, it was a very powerful book with good stuff. Okay. So then
but it really made me like conscious of, like what the media portrays and like what I then like turn around and like judge. Like I know I've had, whether it was a unflattering picture of her or something where I almost like, I feel like I owe her an apology. Like I probably over the years, like either didn't think much of her or kind of like judged a couple things, and I feel bad about it, like having read her story. So it just made me think if you could read everybody's story, it's kind of a good lesson.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you seen Britney Spears' stuff recently? Have you seen the whole Free Britney movement?
I saw that, no, but I haven't seen it, but I know that I've seen people talking about it.
Yeah, so there's a documentary out, and it's very similar situation. Like, I am a Britney fan. I loved me some Britney in high school. I went to her concert, like the thing in Planet Hollywood in Vegas. I went there. I was a fan. Wow. And all of like her recent videos the last few months, year-ish, I've always been like, oh, Britney, like what's going on? Like, I want to give her some eye makeup remover and just, I don't know. I was judging exactly what I was doing. Yeah. And then I watched this documentary and see all the things that she's going through. And it's like, golly, Lauren, you know better than that. Like, come on. So now I watch the videos of her, dancing by herself, and I'm like, just want to go give her a hug and be like, it's okay, Brittany, we can get you through. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you need a book suggestion, I want to go back to that. Have you read Have you read American Dirt?
Oh, no.
Oh, it is so good. One though, you are going to need to have like a week after you read it to just be impressed. Because
that one's my next one, like adding it to Kindle tonight. Perfect.
Yeah, it is so good. Yes. Okay. So what is making you laugh?
So I am obsessed with dad jokes. Like, I don't know why. My kids think it's ridiculous. And the worst part is when I even try to I shouldn't be telling dad jokes, but whenever I try to repeat a really funny one that I've heard, I never tell it right. And so I'm like dying laughing. This happened earlier today, which is how it made me think to say this. I was trying to repeat a joke that I'd heard. And like my husband, kids, like totally deadpan looking at me like, are you kidding? And I couldn't stop. And so I'm going to try to tell it.
Yes. I want to hear it now.
I have to think, like, don't distract me. I have to get it right. So I'm planning on starting a band. That's kind of like my next project. I'm going to call it Blanket. It's a cover band. I know, it's terrible. I don't know why I think it's so funny, but I could not get that out earlier. Like, I'm trying to, it's a cover band.
You're like laughing before you get it out.
I know. And I like couldn't spit it out. And everyone is looking at me like, which is, I'm sure what's happening right now. Like you're probably like laughing to be polite, but those,
I think it's funny.
those kind of jokes are the best.
They are. Oh my gosh. I know. I would do the exact same thing you would do though. I am the one who starts laughing hysterically before I say anything, and everyone's just staring at you like, okay, what is it? Like, just say it. And I'm like, hold on. Let me put it together.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what makes me laugh.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Florida day. Where can people find you if they want to chat with you more or see all of your amazing travel pics?
Well, so my website is momwithamap.com. But I do have the Instagram and Facebook is really, I try to stay on there all the time. And really, we love to inspire other families to do what we do or answer questions about what we're doing. So following me on Instagram or Facebook at momwithamap is a great way to connect.
Thank you for listening to the Lifestyle with Lauren podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe, comment, leave a review, and share with your friends. Thank you so much. Music was created for the show by Matt Bowen, and I'm your host, Lauren Greci. I'll be back here next week with another wonderful conversation. Thanks for listening today. Bye, friends.